Hey guys, Brenden, by the way, That Audio Guy. A lot of people wonder, how do I start a mix? And a lot of you asking that question is going to find yourself in one of two situations. One being that you are composing your own music within your DAW, and you're doing all the writing, and you're trying to decide when do you go to the mixing stage. And then the other is you've received stems from a friend, a client, or you tracked a full band, and you're not sure how to exactly start all of that up. So for those trying to write and compose within the DAW, I would make sure that you separate your creative writing side from your mixing side. Creative writing and composing your song should be a lot more creative than your mixing side. Although mixing is really a creative side, you don't want to interfere those two, because sometimes you get caught up on, well, this guitar is a little bit too muddy and it's bugging me. If it's bugging you to the point that you can't keep composing, fix it up really quick. Just grab some stock EQ and fix it. But if you can live with it, then live with it. Because if you get too caught up in the technical side of things, then you will lose your ideas and you will get lost on the creative process, and then you won't have any song to mix. So once you have your idea in place and you think it's a solid song, then this is where the two, whether you compose your own music in your DAW or you got stems or you recorded a full band, this is where the two meet their paths, and that is in the mixing cycle. The first thing you should do when you sit down to mix is make sure all your volumes are balanced. I know that sounds like a really stupid thing, but check out my video on gain staging. Before you start doing anything, you need to make sure that everything is sitting exactly where it should. Obviously, things like compression play a role in how things fit into a mix, but get it to sound the best you can with just volume. Act like nothing else exists after that. And I'm going to say that that applies to every single step within this cycle. And then you move on to EQ. You balance out EQ, make sure each element has its own area in a mix. You want to make sure that your bass is doing its thing in the low end, but also not getting in the way of the kick. Your acoustic guitar is nice and thick, but without getting in the way of the snare, and so on. And again, act like there is nothing after EQ. This final mix, after you've done your volume and EQ, is what the end client is going to hear. This is what your fans are going to hear. If you mix with that mindset, your mixes will be so good. Compression. Use compression to your advantage. Don't destroy the dynamics of your song. Far too often I hear people way overcompress songs, they overcompress vocals, they overcompress sound effects, and it just takes out the life of the subject. Be smart with your compression. I know it's a really scary thing, and a lot of people warn you not to overdo it. When I first started, it was a really hard thing to do because I didn't want to do anything that was overcompressed, because people kept saying, oh, well, you don't want to overcompress, so I would barely just tap it. Compression is something you have to play with to really get used to and know how it works. So play around with your compression and see how it feels. And then go back to volume automation if things aren't just right. Basically, keep doing this cycle over and over until you are so happy with the song that you would almost consider delivering it. And then you can move on to what I like to call the sweetening area, which is your delays, your reverbs, and other effects. Once your song is in a solid spot within that cycle, then adding delays and reverbs will only make it 100 times better, because you have a solid foundation to work off of. Far too often I hear people delivering their vocal performance through a reverb and delay, so then they give way for things like pitch errors, timing errors, and it's like, well, that's okay because the reverb is kind of covering that up. No! Make your vocals sound so amazing, so if someone heard the dry track, they would be blown away. Delays, effects, reverbs, those things are only here to help us enhance our music. Yes, there's music that uses effects as part of the score and the sound, but overall, if you use the fundamental cycle, then imagine how much more impactful it will be when you get those effects laid in there. And then, of course, after you add your delays and reverbs, then jump right back into the cycle and just tweak until your song is sounding just right using reference tracks. If you follow this cycle while you mix, I promise you two things. One, your mixes will improve tenfold. And two, you will mix a lot faster and smarter. If you don't believe me, try it on your next mix, and then clock your time so you know how much time you're spending on it, and then put an A/B next to your other mix that you just did previously. I want to hear the results. Send them to me. I want to know how this is working for you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I promise you, just implement this and you will improve. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel and sign up for my email list, where I will send you exclusive content that I only send to the people on that list. And also head over to itsthatAudioguy.com, and I will see you guys soon.